Hi all, good morning. Let me know if the screen is visible. We'll start with the discussion. Hello.
Hi.
Yeah, hi Raj. The screen visible? Is it okay?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, so let's start with the discussion. Okay, so yesterday we were discussing SE38 report. So let's just continue with that and see what else we can do on the reports. So after that reports, so we'll try creating one function module and call that function module in our report. So now what are function modules? C37 is the transaction. So we have already noted it down. SC37, this will be my transaction for my function module. So what are function modules? So what this will do is it is similar to a program, SC38 report, but it will have certain import, export and such parameters are will be available. So this function modules, we can put in a group something called function groups. Okay. So every function module should be part of function group. So we will try creating one function group first. You can also put your function groups in the existing, sorry, function modules in your existing function group, or you can create a new. That is purely dependent on the requirement. Go to, so if you go to here, it will have function groups. You can just see or create new. Let's see what are there. I'll give G star. Nothing is there. Okay. So you can also navigate function modules in my object browser SE80. Here also you will have the option function group. So you can search if anything you require here. You can also create it from here. Function groups, these are local actually. If you just give G star, you can search for existing any function groups. So these are all available here. So either you can create or you can just reuse all this. So we'll try creating one function group and we'll see what all will come into picture. Function groups, I'll just create a group. Function group name ZDemo ABAP. Demo function group for ABAP. Just save it. It will ask for a package. So this is default step. Any object, yes, it will ask for a package and transport. Transport. So I have created a function group called ZDemo ABAP. Now let's try creating a function module. Let it get activated. So this is stress. Meanwhile, I'll just open and keep it. It's taking some time. So we'll just comment out all the code. Okay, function group is created. Okay, now same. I'll just create a function module. Gdemo ABAP underscore fm. So it will ask for a function group. So here I can give Gdemo ABAP and short text demo function module. This I can see actually this function model for the UI purpose it is function module, but in the back end again it is a program only. So I'll just show you how it looks in the back end. Again it will be a include program. How it is done for my SE30, it's a system created. You need not separately create. Once you activate it, the function group, everything will be having the function module in a different way of code. Let me show you that. What happened? Function. Okay, so my function module is created. Let me just activate and show it. I haven't put any parameters, so see, it will create so many things. One is this REPS, it's a SAP. So this 4 letters SAPL is common, and it will create the function group name. So this is a include program. Let me activate this. So this top is for my declaration, global declaration. So how we saw it in reports, right? You can create one top include. So these are all include programs of my function group. Sorry, wrong browser. Once it activates, we'll just try. So in the report, what we'll try to do is simple. See, we'll go with a very simple example. We'll just give two input parameters, very basic operation. It's not, things will not be so simple actually. Two inputs, we will add both the numbers. We'll add both. So this one will use function module. See, here it is just simply like you can just give a selection screen, just add two numbers. Same thing, we'll try to use my function module. So now my function module should be ready. Okay, so now there are some types of function modules. Let's see what are those. So here if you come to the attributes, you can see the classification. So this will come, the function group will be there, and the short text whatever you give. Now this processing type, this is pretty important actually. So there is a concept in SAP called RFCs. RFCs means remote function calls. So remote function calls means what will happen. Let me show you in a small picture. Okay, this is, you have two systems actually. So maybe system A and system B. Okay, I'll just remove this formatting. Okay, so this is system A and this is system B. Okay, so now maybe this is my, okay, let me be a little technical. One is my user system, means end user system. Let me put it that way. End user system, and this is my HR system. Okay, so now what will happen is, so in end user, suppose I give my user ID and I want to fetch my maybe bank account details which is maintained in my system. So what the system does is it will try to connect with this HR system. So the basic expectation is there should be a connection existing between these two systems. That is the basic expectations. So here I have my HR data. So here I'll write a function module called maybe get account details. Okay, so now if I run this get account details in my HR system, it will work. Now I want the same get account details to run from my end user system. So now what I can do is, we'll just use a syntax. See, for calling a function module is call function. This is the same. Now I'll give my function module name. So this is just an example which syntax we'll see in detail. Then we'll say destination. Destination in the sense, first in which system you want to call me. So tell me that system. So this might be existing in multiple systems. My HR system would be there. My personal administration system would be there. So multiple systems would be there. So there I'll just call destination whatever my system name is. So it will be generally system name. Suppose if system name is HR system, HRD then CLNT is common, okay, then whatever client it is, maybe 500. So this is how the syntax looks. So for this destination to work, there should be a connection existing between these two systems. So that is a remote function call. Now what the terminology is, this function module is remotely called from a end user system. So that is how the terminology is. So if you keep it as a normal function module, it will just work like that. Then remote function module is what we just discussed. Like, okay, you want this function module to be called from a different system, you should make it remote enabled. Then update module. So if it is update module, the thing is, okay, there is something called, yesterday we discussed, right? There is something called commit work and rollback. Now what will happen is, there is something called in the background update task. So what it will do, suppose I have some 5 database tables. Okay, so if you put it in update task, okay, so what it will do is, suppose in case my table 1, 2 and 3 are there. Let me go back to a pictorial. Okay, let's consider we have 3 tables. Table 1, similarly table 2 and table 3. Okay, let me rename it table 3. Now in this, maybe I modified some 3 entries. Okay, these are all interdependent tables. So maybe this is my header table, this is my item, this is sub item table. Okay, so here I have created maybe 3 into 2, 6 entries. Means corresponding to these 3 entries, I have created 6 entries. And in the third table, corresponding to these 6 entries, I have 6 entries. Okay, now we'll see how this update function model works. Okay, so now here what I did is, each table actually will have a create and update function modules. So how we did it in SE38, directly those insert, all those will not happen in standard tables. So if you take big standard tables like sales tables or my purchase tables, everyone will have some update function modules. So what will happen is, now I created these 3 entries, right? Then in my database, these 3 entries are there. Okay, so I just want to make sure only if these 3 entries are successfully entered into my table 1, then only these 6 entries should go into my table 2. In that time, what we'll do, we'll put everything into update task, and when commit work happens, so as we discussed yesterday, commit work is a statement for database commits. So if you put this at this point of time only, my table entries are actually going into my database. So when commit work happens, all these three, the interlinking 6 and 6 will actually enter the database. So that is the purpose of update function module. Okay, then these are the 3 radio buttons. This is single, and the next group is when it should start working. So then it start immediately is a default selection. Immediate start, no restart. So this will come into picture when RFCs are coming into when we use it as an RFC. Then start delayed and column run, collection run. So these are the way when these are getting triggered. This collection run is like there is something programs called collector programs that is taken care of in the system backend. Then start delayed means you will just wait for an update call. You see the description, start of an update delayed. So once one update task is created, you want to delay sometime maybe 5 seconds, 10 seconds, then create it. So in this one, we'll generally use start immediately. We don't have any practical scenarios, very rare scenarios where the other choices are used, but the other 3 is very frequently used: normal, remote and update module. These will be very frequently used. Now let me put it as normal function module. Now what are the other options available in my program? So import parameters, export, changing, tables, exceptions and source code. Okay, so we'll see one by one. So import means whatever you want to push from the other code. Suppose importing is with respect to this function module. Okay, so whatever is importing in this function module will be exporting in my other group. We'll see with an example. Okay. Now this is general naming convention. So it is I for import, or the project may say IMP for import. So that completely depends upon your naming conventions of the project. In standard, what it does is I is for import, either IT is for tables, V for variable, S for structures, like this. Now I'll take a variable IV, maybe number 1. This is my first variable. Then I'll take two. We thought of adding two numbers, right? We'll just take these two. Typing, okay. We can give direct types or object references. Object references will come into picture in OOPS concepts. We'll discuss on that. So currently I'm giving it type. Associated type, you can give whatever data element or data, what anything is possible here, like whatever the data elements you have or the data types you have, everything you can give. So now what I'll do is I'll give a number. So maybe int 4, integer I'm giving. If you want to set up a default value, then you can give it here. Okay. So what it does is, when you are importing this number, if that value is blank, this value will go. So now maybe I'll give it 5. Let's see how it behaves. Okay. Then what are these two checkboxes? One is optional, means when you are passing it from the other program, if you don't check this, it will be an mandatory parameter. Otherwise, it will be an optional. So what I'll do is I need two numbers for addition. I'll give 3 here. Okay. I'll make this optional. So let's see how it will behave. Then pass by value. Okay. Now here we have generally we have two things. It is a generic concept, not specific tab. One is pass by value and pass by reference. So here if you check this, it's considered as pass by value. So let's keep this values. We are directly passing the values. Now if I click enter, it will say, okay, this is a natural number. The default is 5. I'll just copy paste. So 3 numbers, out of which one is optional. Now I'll go to the export parameters. Export, it is generally E. I'm going to give a variable EV result. Okay. So I'm just trying to give an output out of for this associated type in 4. So here you don't have that optional value, because export you have to give, no other option. It has to be there. Then changing. Now what is the difference between changing and export is, in the program you will calculate something and pass the value back to my calling program. So that will be my exporting. Suppose you take some value, manipulate it and give back, that is a changing value. Now we can have a question like, what is different between importing and changing? Okay. So importing value, the system will not allow you to change it. Suppose you want to change this number I1, now I number 1, it will not allow. I'll show it programmatically. So changing, currently we don't have anything. So if you have any parameter which you want to change, okay, then that you can give it here. So I'll just put one, maybe result. Let's take an example and we'll see how we can do it. I'll just simply put changing variable, okay, type int 4. I'll keep it mandatory. We'll see how it looks. So these are all import parameters. So in case you have any like changing things, then we have tables. So if you have any tables to be manipulated, you can give it here. Exceptions. Okay. So what are these exceptions? So if you have any data inconsistency, or in the program, like if the data is not found or some error happens, there is something called exceptions we can raise. Okay. The number of exceptions we give here, there is no limit actually. So currently what I'll say is maybe no result. I'll just give no result. This actually comes from my OOPS concepts. So that is the reason we have an option to give an exception class here. So what it will do is it will just create exception class that will have a look in oops app. Now if I save it, all this will come in my, so 1 2 3, exporting 1 4, changing is 1 5. 5 parameters we have declared. We should see all these parameters in my source code in my import. See, importing. So instead of just navigating back to each tab, you can just have a look at here. I have given 3 importing parameters, 1 exporting parameter, it's reference, so it should be value actually. Changing is also value, so let me set that pass by value, changing value. Now if I see, it will be changed. Value, then value, one exception, no result. Okay. So now very simple. So just to see that I just said right, my numbers cannot be changed. Equal to, I'll tell 10. We'll see whether this will accept or not. It should not accept because it's a input parameter. Okay, no syntax errors. Maybe runtime errors will get it. So now what I'll do is I'll just add these two numbers. That is our expected thing. EV result equal to number 1 plus number 2. I'll keep it very simple. The code is similar. So whatever logic you can put in my SE38 reports, you can put it. But in SE38 we have events. Here it will not be there. That is only difference. Okay, I'll just activate it. Okay, so now if you want to test this function model, we have an option to execute. See, this is the execute button. The shortcut is F8. I can directly test the function module before calling it in some other program. So if I want to see the behavior, I'll just execute it. So it will create a test environment. Okay, so I have given my input value as 5 default, so that has come up here. So what we can do, suppose I want to add only, see, I have given formula, I have given only 1 and 2, so maybe 5 and 5, and I want to save this. See, any report we can save the inputs. So here now you can save it as a test environment. So what I will do is I'll just click on save. So it will ask for the comments. So I'll say it's a test data, it will come by default. Testing data, just save it. Okay, so this will be saved as my test record. So if you want to open that, here there is something called test data directory. So it will say this is the one. In this, only the disadvantage is you cannot override these values. If you just select it, it will be coming. Suppose if you save another one, you will not have an option to override. But in SE38 report variants, we have. So now I'll just execute it. Okay, changing hasn't come. So let me see what is the issue. Okay, exporting, it will show. So I want to load. If you see 500 is there, I'll just load my other values. 55 is what I had given. I had given. So I'll execute it. So it will say result is 10. So this is my export parameter. So changing is like you can give an input as well as you can change it. So that is why in the both screens you see that changing variables parameters. Now import, then export only when the program is executed that comes. That is why you see the export value here. So this is the basic design of a function module. Now there is something called BAPIs actually. Okay. So what are these BAPIs? These are something built on top of my RFC. Okay, you will hear this very frequently when business processes are involved. So any master data or transaction data creation will happen only through BAPIs. Okay, So if I say there are certain transaction codes, we'll just see as an example one. So VH01 is for my sales order. Okay. So there are this is functional, completely functional actually. So issues will come like, okay, there is some process. So any business process, the issue will be okay. In some process, some issues there. So either it is on the screen level or the data level, whatever it is. So what we can do is we can see this is for my uh, creation and modification. So for everything, the BAPIs are only used. BAPIs you can just see on my function module screen itself. There is a small procedure they follow to create that BAPI. So we'll see that as well. That is built on top of my function module. So I have just tried to see if any material creation, material related BAPIs are there. So there are different function groups. So there are many BAPIs available for material. So BAPI is like, okay, let me see material, delete, display, edit, create. There are so many. So if I just randomly pick something, let me open this. So in some programs, you'll have a requirement like creation of master data, changing master data. So for in BAPIs, there are for create, change, everything we have separate set of BAPIs. If I go to attributes, it will be a remote enabled function module because my BAPIs are always built on my RFCs. So this is a default one, remote enabled. Then import parameters, yeah, you can have as it is. So if you see, they will be all passed by values only because they need some kind of data in populating into them. So some material numbers they are taking. Then export, they are exporting all pass by values only. Changing, nothing is there. Tables, nothing is there. Nothing on that. So in next week, this is a source code. So this is how some a BAPI looks like. This is a create BAPI. Then we'll go for a change BAPI. Technically, there are some extra structures in my change BAPI where we have to indicate and we should tell the program like what fields are getting changed. Retail material. Let me check if there is any change actually. So all CURD operations actually you can use the BAPIs. Even for reading you have reading, writing, update, everything you can do using BAPIs. So this get batches. This is like it will have multiple like what you say views or joiner joins. That will take care. Now if I see any change, no, nothing is there. So I'll just see if any change is the change. Randomly I'll just pick a change BAPI. So in change BAPIs, what will happen is there will be two types of structures. One is like ending with X. Yes, see for every structure is address X, detail X, address one X. So what is the importance is in this field you will pass the data. Okay, so suppose these are all the data fields. Let me open this. So okay, sorry, it has gone to values list. Sorry, wrong one. Yeah. So if you observe all the RFCs, it will be everything is passed by value only. Nothing. So suppose in this I want to change my name for. Okay. So what we'll do is while passing the structure value, this name for you will pass. Suppose you want to change only name for field. So what is the default requirement is whatever field you are passing in that field should have a checkbox in this. So name for this should have a value X. So the what system understands is whichever field is having X here, that field value is getting changed. Okay. Now in case if you check this value and suppose I by mistake maybe I have given name 3 and name 4 as X, but I passed only name 4 value here. What system will understand is my name 4 and name 3 is getting changed. So whatever values are, it will just override. But practically what happens, name 4 gets modified and name 3 gets cleared. So we should be pretty careful while manipulating these flags. So apart from this, there is no other complication with this PAPI. So this is for internal purpose. So if suppose same way the RFC is getting called, in other system if you want to just call this, they will just use call function BAPI and they will just call it. And one more thing I just forgot. In every BAPI, there is this return table is standard. So it means it will return all the messages actually. This is a message structure. So it will say what type of message. So this is a very common structure in BAPIs. So what generally they do is either once calling the BAPI, they'll just check if this um, if there are any messages. So if any master data creation or updation should happen, it will return a message. If there are any messages, it will say these are the errors. You need to collect that and show it to the user, like how it is being called, either through background process, foreground, or using screens, whatever it is. In case there is a master data or a transaction data created, suppose a sales order something we are creating, it will give a message sales order so and so number has been successfully created. So that is how these BAPIs will work. This would be the basic knowledge on BAPIs. This should be fine actually. Anyways, we are not going to create any BAPIs. That is not at all going to happen actually. It's very rare scenario where we create some BAPIs. That is done by SAP standard. So as a end user, or I just give me a minute. I'll just plug in my charger. Okay. So generally, this is how the BAPIs work. So in different kinds of majorly these BAPIs are coming into picture in implementation projects. In support projects, it's be very less because any master data creation or updation, transaction data creation updation, it's already existing. So what in a implementation or migration projects, the requirements would be is suppose I have some purchase orders. So in my old system, I have around 40 open purchase orders. So we want to create the same purchase orders in my new system. So that 40 is a pretty bigger number for functional users. Okay. So they have maybe each 10, 15, 10 items in each purchase order. So 40 into 10 is around 400 items. So what they'll do is generally they'll give an Excel sheet containing the data, or then maybe the mandatory fields, header and item data, and they will ask, okay, to write a program, upload program, which will create all my purchase orders using that Excel. So this is one very commonly used case scenario. So we will use BAPIs. If they say we have to create, then you will use create, or if they want mass upload or mass change, we will use this one, change BAPI and update it. So now coming back to our example, now let me show you how this looks in my SC38. So you can just navigate from here only, display. There is a button here, display navigation window. Okay, if you just click this and we have object list. Object list again is like the SC80 screen. The similar screen will open up. See, it is actually it just navigates to the text SC80. So here we can see the function group, ZDemo, what is the function module, and as I said earlier, there are set couple of includes created. This will be system created. Nothing to be created manually. So these two will come. One is for top include, which will have all my declarations. We'll have to put the declarations. Suppose you want those declarations to be available across all the function modules. So then you can declare it here. So this will be my forms. Suppose the include forms, whatever it is, like you create per forms, you can just put it. It will just keep on updating here. So this is actually generated. So it says don't change it manually. Function model, yes, this you can come back here. So as I showed yesterday, this extended syntax checks, all those. Same you can do it here also on my function group level. So create every operation what you do on my normal screen, you can do it here. So create, we have all these options here. then check. Yesterday I showed it, syntax check, extended, code inspector, all this you can do it. Yeah, same, nothing difference actually. Whatever you do it on my the other screen, you can do it here also. Now that's on function modules. Let me try using this. So this is my function module. Okay. Now I'll just close this. So this is my program. Okay. So I'll just comment all this data declarations, all this. Let's start it fresh. Okay. Now to call my function module, I just showed it pattern. You can give this function module here. Suppose you know the name, yeah, directly you can give it here. Otherwise, you have a you always have an option to search for it. I think it doesn't come. C star. There are so many. Let me give the demo. So we have this one we have created actually. So these are the other ones existing. So it will show as part of it function group it is and which one. So you can just choose it accordingly. So this is the one I have created. I'll just call it. Now if you see the default value will come. Okay. So my importing parameter for function module will be exporting. It's vice versa. So I have given this one as mandatory. So this has come up. Number two, then importing means if you want to result changing, yes, this is how the keywords look. If I want to have my exception, if I have exceptions, what it will have is I have given no result. It will by default in the order it will assign one number. Okay. So if I say no result, it will give return my size of bars as 1. So it is applicable for any exception. Suppose I'll just remove this. I'll create another exception. That a number assignment is automatic. We will not have any control. So you just keep on giving exceptions. The numbers will keep on populating there. Okay, here and I'll say error occurred. Okay, so I'll say error occurred. I'll just click on activate. Then I'll just give it. Let it get activated. Okay, now if you go back and just call my function module again, pattern this function module. If you see, my new exception has come with other number, and by default it will create one called others, which will assign the last number. Okay, now we'll just keep it as it is, and we'll try to raise one exception. Okay, simply, and we'll see how it behaves. The syntax is raise exception. Sorry, raise. Okay, this exception I'll just give no result. We'll see whether this will accept. First, we'll see a scenario where my result comes and another scenario where my exception comes. Yeah, no syntax. I'll just comment out to see the first result. Okay. So here what I'll do is I'll just put a hard breakpoint. No changing variables. So what I'll do is I'll have to declare a variable which has the same data type. So here we have given result as integer 4. So I'll have to declare a variable lb result type int 4. Okay. Now actually what will happen is the data declaration should be similar, otherwise it will not accept. Either it will throw a syntax error or it will say it will create a dump. So let me do one more thing. This number 2 I'll just give LV number 2 type character. Okay, I'll just give this and we'll see if it will accept. Type char is unknown. Char for yeah. So syntax it is correct. So we'll see what will happen. Function module also will have to activate. So while creating the program, we'll not understand that because in syntax it will just check if this code which is written is correct. So you will start getting dumps maybe. We'll see what will happen if my data mismatch the data type mismatch. So I'll just run this program. It will open a debugger because I put a hard breakpoint. You should never do this actually, just for testing purpose I am doing. Now this is 5 and LV number 2 is a character. Let's see if it is accepted. It's a dump. So type conflict when calling because the two types are different. In the function model we have declared it as a integer 4, but in system here in the local program we have declared it as character. One disadvantage is when execution only we'll get to know this. Well, these are small programs, so very easy to identify. Otherwise, it will be a bit difficult actually. Now, what I'll do is I'll just change it to int4 and assign some value. Number equal to maybe 7. Okay. Now it should work. Okay, here it is not active. Yeah, it's active. Now let's see what the behavior is. 38. I'm just executing it. So 5 and this has my number 7, so this should work. Again, okay, incorrect parameter. Okay, changing parameter is a mandatory, so that is another error. So here it will give what is error. When calling a function, one of the parameters was not specified. So this was changing. So let me change it to optional or I'll remove it. No, it's not optional, so it expects. So the small checkbox can hit you there. I'll put it optional because we haven't put any, don't have any changing parameter. Then after this example, we'll see how the changing parameter works. And what are the limitations in my function model. Let me take you through both the examples. Okay, now again let me execute. I think okay, there was a dump, right? So that is comes as part of troubleshooting. Okay, the transaction code would be ST22 dump analysis. So how this once this function module is done, we'll just see that. I'll just show you in detail. We can discuss it. I'll just open that ST22. So after that function model example, we'll come back to this. Okay. Now I'll just execute my report 38. execute. So if successfully complete, it should go inside. Yeah, it went inside, so no issues. Whereas EV result, it is 12. It will return back. So now LV result will have 12. So you can just use this, and you can just keep on working with whatever it is, what the value is, what is the purpose of writing this function model. You can do it. So the first example what I showed is conversion exit. So it will take some value, manipulate and give out some value. So this is how the import and export parameters work. Now let me take an example of changing. So you want to change some value. Okay, we'll have to give that variable. Same, I'll give for LC. This is a naming convention, right? Nothing else. LC variable type int4. Okay, now I give. So we have some shortcuts in my coding. So if I want to same copy line now, Control D, it will just keep on copying the previous line. So you can just use it whenever some say big lines of declarations. Generally we can use it. Control D. That's it. If you just right click now, you will have some shortcuts here. Control F, I, replace, find and replace. So these are some shortcuts where we can. It will be pretty helpful in bigger programs. Okay. Control F is for finding. This is my local level. I mean my program level. If you want to find something on global level, there is a search find box here. So it will say you will save it and see the program. So you can see in the whole program, main program, all this you can see on the program level. There is another one shortcut Control O. So it will directly take you to my line. Here you have less number of lines now. So it will not be much useful. So if you have some big codes, maybe 1,000 lines, 2,000 lines, and you want to go to certain line, instead of just browsing, you can just go directly to this. Okay, so coming back to the program, I'll just give a variable. Okay, now we'll see the negative case. So I have given variable as 7. Okay, I just want to change it. Okay, I have still not given my exceptions, so let's keep it as it is. I'll say my CV variable is some 18. This should allow. Okay, but if I try to change number 1, 18, we'll see whether this allows or not. I'll activate it. After okay, this is active. Let's wait for this to be active. Okay, this is active now. I'll just run that again. Okay, so execute. So even if you are debugging any RFC also, here it will come like call destination and just keep pressing F5. This will actually navigate to your other system as well. So this debugging RFCs, there is no difference. It will just navigate provided the connection is available. Simple. So my result is available. Now CV variable has 7. So we are just overwriting the value. So technically it is saying overwriting. Okay. Now IV, we'll see whether this will overwrite. It overwrites. Okay. Fine. So this is my change variable. So from we have given 7 and it has come to 18. So this is how changing works. Let me see why this is not allowed. Okay, see, but it's actually by default, these import variables are not changeable, but not sure why the setting is like this. Okay, we'll just check that. Then I'll just raise an exception. Raise no result. So accordingly, my Sasa value will set and it will give a result. Okay, so let's see. Okay, it's activated. I'll just rerun. Please raise exception. Okay, no result is raised. Okay, but why dump has come is we have not handled, we have just raised it. Okay, we haven't captured it. So that is the reason it will just throw an it will just throw a dump. So we'll have to actually handle it. Now let me try handling it. No exception. So this, then we'll do one thing. This will take it a part of hoops because we'll have to discuss about handler class and all. So the basic result is here. Once the exception is raised, the size abortive value will be 1 here. So we'll just have to, oh sorry, I didn't put this here, is it? Okay, I didn't, it was a miss from my end. So we'll have to uncomment this exception. So it says your exceptions is not handled. So that is the reason we got a dump. So in my function model context, this is my exception handling. Whatever exception is raised, you will have to handle it outside where the program is called. Okay, I think that I missed. Now I'll just rerun that SA38. We'll see if still that solves the issue or not. Yeah, see. So we caught the exception. So my size of RC is 1. You see the size of RC value, it is 1. So it said no result, will by default give 1. So now if I just give the raise the other exception, instead of no result, I will. So these are some shortcuts on my keyboard. Control space. So it will give all my uh, writable code here, like variables, tables, everything. So here no result I'll give. Okay, then I'll just activate this. Let's wait for the program. That's activated. Let me go back to the program and re-execute. Execute. Okay. Now I have read the no result. So it will come out. It will say size. No. Okay, sorry. Error occurred. No? I'll have to put that. Sorry for that. I'll raise the second exception. Error occurred. Okay. So now let me rerun it again. Yeah, X. Now this error occurred is 2, so some size aperture value will be 2. This is how we'll handle exception. So based on my size aperture code, you can just write the logic. So if no result is there, you want to display some message or you want to call some other program, whatever it is, based in these conditions, you can just use it. Okay. Now in yesterday's in looping statements, there are certain things we will see. Loop we saw, right? So now we'll see something called case statement. Case statement means on one particular variable, suppose in this case only, this is simply like, okay, my size of bar value is not equal to 0, means now we have three probable values. My value may be 1, 2 or 3. Okay, in this case what we'll do is we'll put a case statement, case. Okay, it will ask a prompt. If you click tab, it will come like this. Okay, my this is my case open and case end case. It's my looping statement. Okay, so on case, on what field you want to put. Okay, so the field name we'll have to give. Okay, so the options now are 1, so we can just give another when statement, when 1, when 2, when 3, and if some other value comes, it will directly go for when others. So under this you can perform whatever logic you want to write. So one show, suppose for one you want to execute one logic, you can just write logic whatever it is here. Okay, so now it is actually it's not a continuous statement, because in some other oops concept what will happen is when this value is executed and we don't have a break statement, even this will get executed, but in ABAP no, it is not. Whatever is there between or whatever is there after my when condition, that code is alone will get executed. Okay, so this is a practical use scenario. So now we have 1, 2 and 3, that is the reason we have put it. If you put like equal to 0, okay, then this will go to my else part. So these are the basic control statement, if else or even else if we have. So this will be like totally dependent on what type of conditions you want to use and what is the control statements there. That is practically we'll have to think of. So do while and all, it's very rarely used, so we don't use it much. Loop is the most widely used. Do while and all, it is actually an obsolete one, not much used now. So this will be on my case statements. Now coming back to my troubleshooting. So these are the basic things on my SC38 reports as well as my function modules. So I'll just check if I have missed on anything on function modules, because my BAPIs I have covered, RFCs, and those will be my update function modules. These are the three things. If I feel anything I have left out, I'll just cover it tomorrow. Now we'll come to the troubleshooting things. So in basic troubleshooting section, what we'll have is debugging. Debugging is the major thing we'll have to do. Okay, so we already saw what all we'll do in debugging. Then my dump. If they say okay, my dumps are there, I'll just have to come to this transaction st22. This is how my dump runtime error looks like. Okay, so now for today, I mean this is selection actually. For today and yesterday, it will by default come up standard. After that, own selection. If you want to go back to maybe some 3 or 4 days, 5 days back, you can just come here, give your own selection. This is basically a selection screen again. So for today, I'll just see what happened. So it will give a user and what is the server and what is the exception. I mean runtime error, what it has come. So it will all give all these details, which program it happened. So everything it will be giving. So I'll just double click on this, maybe the real one. So it will show all this navigation will come into picture. So if you just want to go to that editor, it will go there. So this is my program, so I know in detail. In sometimes what will happen, like okay, there will be monitoring team, they'll just keep on sending like these are dumps occur today. You can just come here, see what is the program, and you can see what is the error, and you can resolve it accordingly. So the major things are like 2 to 3 things. Sometimes you will directly understand from your short text incorrect parameter. Now you don't know which parameter it is. If you come down into error analysis, it will try. You can try to get more information. So here it will say an exception occurred. So you can read out all this, and this parameter was CV variable. So this is the issue. This particular, this how to correct actually will be suggested by SAP. It is actually not much useful. Then if you directly go to my source code extract, okay, this one, okay, so it will say in your code which line has an issue. So here what happened, this this call function was an issue, so that this should come actually here or not one line. Even double click here, it will lead you there, it will just go, okay. And contents of system fields, if you want to check like any system fields, you can just check it here. I think then I will, okay. In debug mode, if I use that structure, I'll just show that. I think once I'll show. In debugging, if you give here the variable syst, this will have all my system variables. See, all my system variables will be here. So these are all again used case scenarios. Suppose site tab is a system client name, what is the database, what is the operating system, what is the T code used. So everything will have a field here. What is the system date? Time is there. See, this is the time, system time. What is the user? What is the program description? Which program it used? So these are all system parameters. So based on your requirement, we can use whatever you want to use. So that is how the debugging, that troubleshooting format dumps it is. So sometimes you will get a issue saying my system is very slow. So you want to performance tuning. That is one critical thing what everyone expects actually. At that time there are couple of transactions which will be helpful. One is ST05. This is trace analysis. Okay, we can analyze the trace. This is one. Let me note down. SC30. I think we have one. Okay. New set. So this is my runtime analysis. Okay, means you can just give a description. You can see how this program or function model, whatever you want to just see where my issue is. So I'll just give the program and see, evaluate immediately. We'll see what will happen. I'll give T code actually because so it has a debugger. It has come up. So let me execute it. So what transactions we had a look now. One is ST05. Okay, this actual description is performance analysis, but what generally we do is the trace. SQL trace is what majorly we use. SQL trace. We have different options there. Okay. Then is SC30. So we have new transaction, but it will just lead SC30 runtime analysis. Okay. So here in performance analysis, the other transaction I'll just go. Here we'll have different traces like SQL, NQ trace, buffer, RFC, and HTTP. Okay. RFC trace, yeah, when you do the remote function calls which we discussed, that will help out. HTTP trace, this will help when you are debugging your third-party applications or my web applications. So HTTP stands for my web. So any web application using WebDynPro, OData, BSP, those things you can switch on this trace. NQ trace is like NQ is for my locking of database objects. So that NQ trace means in your execution how many tables you are locking you want to analyze. You can use NQ trace and buffer trace. So when we discuss this database tables, we had an option of buffering. So that is one kind of buffer, that is table buffer. There are another couple of types of buffers where one is the runtime buffer and another is program buffer. So now what are these buffers? We have system memories at different levels actually. Okay. Uh, let me open the PPT. So we have three different layers, right, in my architecture. One is one presentation layer. Okay, that is on top of the on what we see on the top GUI. Then application layer. Then the third one is database layer. Okay, so database layer is where the actual data is stored. So here there is no buffer much. Okay, that is on table level. So that is a setting. It's not on runtime. But when on application level, there is something called ABAP memory, which actually is a SAP memory. Sorry, not ABAP, SAP memory. So on a runtime usage, you will just have use it. Then on the presentation memory, it is like ABAP memory. Okay, so these actually are buffers. Like, okay, when you execute a program, some temporary memory is allocated to you. Either you can use it as a buffer or not. That is programmatically decided. And sometimes in table level you use it. Those buffers will come onto the application level. So these buffers you want to analyze, you can use this buffer trace. But generally, when performance issues comes, we'll just go for SQL trace. So we have the step is like you just activate trace. Okay, then run some code, whichever you want to run. So I'll just run my code. I'll just switch off my debugging, and then you can come here, deactivate trace, so it will stop. Then display trace, so it will come a selection screen. What trace you want to analyze? So I have put SQL trace. So I'll just execute this. So it will say what all happened here. It's which is even for a smallest program, we'll have this many. Generally, we'll have some 5,000 to 10,000 lines of code here in whatever you want to see. So here, suppose I want to see if my Z table anything is there, you can just give a search. Here you can just search and see what table you want to see. This is a generic way of analyzing my trace actually. So what this is for SQL trace. Now coming back to my ABAP runtime analysis. So this comes of my complete logic. See, so it will say each every line of code it will show. In my SQL trace, only my select statements or call statements will come up. Now this will give me complete data, like right from line 1 till everything. It will show what line, how much time it took. So if you see the microseconds thing, the total execution is this one. So this is 100%. So it will just give the percentage. Okay, which set of code took more time. So it says internal processing block is 99.92. So I called one function module, one call function we did. Okay, one subroutine we had. Okay, but it was deactivated. So modules what are the PB? This comes under my module pool programming. We'll discuss that because it comes. We had called couple of screens in debugging. So the debugging screen is a module pool program. Any screen in SF is a module pool. So it says, okay, you have used this much time on my module pool. So you can see the complete analysis here. This is only on my time execution, nothing else. Okay. So now I think we have covered all three: dump analysis, performance test, and runtime analysis. Yes. Okay. So I'll just check if I have missed anything on this, or else tomorrow we'll just discuss another couple of T codes. 19, that is SC51, which is purely for module pool programming. Yes, this is module pool programming is like, yeah, SC51. So any SIP screen is a module pool. Even if this particular screen is again a module pool, how you will know is go to system status. Just give me a minute, it will go. So if you see here SIP data, this repository data, it will give this program name and screen number. Okay, so any module pool will have this program name and screen number. So just go to my screen. This is how the screen looks. Okay, the screen design is on this layout. So this one we'll discuss in detail tomorrow. I'll just show how the screen looks and we'll just close it for today. This will take a bit time. Just give me a few more minutes. this screen is also called screen painter. So how, what menus and all it will show here. So how you want the screen to look like, everything it is possible. It's a drag and drop kind of interface that I'll change it. So this is how the screen looks actually. We'll try to see what is the issue. It's not coming up. Okay, this is a UI issue actually. It should the same way it should come how it looks in my screen actually. So this I'll just check this. Okay, so that's it for today. Thank you.